As a young baby, I was very sick, very ill, and the doctor diagnosed it as cholera infantum, and later changed the diagnosis to rickets. He had a serious mistake in prescribing spirits of fermentum, which is actually whiskey, to be added to my formula. I was very ill for several months, and my family didn't expect me to live. Another doctor was consulted, and he discovered that my body had been poisoned by the whiskey. So they took me off of the whiskey, and I gained strength and became, normal, I guess. During this hazardous beginning of my family, they took tender care of me and taught me the important lessons in life before I was even aware of what they were meaning. I felt secure and safe, and the feeling I had passed on to others in my lifetime. Our family raised a big garden. We participated in community events and are very active in the Lutheran Church. I attended a one-room schoolhouse until I was 16, and then we moved into a new school. I liked working with numbers, was treasurer of the Youth Temperance League at church, and I was treasurer of my junior class at school. To earn money, I sold newspapers, raised chickens, sold eggs, 15 cents a dozen, 1929. I was getting 44 eggs a day. In May of that year, I got 200 leghorns to care for, and during the Depression, I actually was in the best possible line of work, producing food. Everybody still needed to eat. My parents were not well, so I also helped out at home. Both my parents died within a year after I graduated from high school. I worked for 2 years after high school to earn money to go to Findlay College and study theology. I traveled as far as Iowa, working at different jobs, farming, painting, working with sheet metal. Parts of the financing for school came from my father's life insurance policy in the amount of $700, a goodly amount at that time. During my freshman year at Findlay College, the library had a bad fire, and I was hired to be a guard there and also clean books and take inventory. At home, I would scan fruits and vegetables and take them back to school for meals. There were many ways that I found to help to pay my own education. It wasn't all work, though. At 19, I enjoyed spending a week at Lakeside, Chautauqua of Lake Erie. A great adventure also for me in 1934 is I went to the World's Fair in Chicago. I was also able to visit the nation's capital during those years. My life was full, and many memories were made. During my college years, I was on the yearbook staff for 4 years, ran track, was manager on the football team. I met my dear Lori Yvonne one day when several of seminary students from Findlay College helped dedicate a new church in Bloom Center. Her parents granted me permission to court her. I would hitchhike for miles between Findlay and Bloom Center, or catch a ride with a friend to spend time with her. 2 years later, in May of 1938, I graduated with a ministerial degree. We were married on June 14th of 38, and I loved being her husband. We were full of hope, making our way as a couple. I served in small Church of God congregations for several years, and Laura, as usual, was the pianist and the song leader. Later, I worked at other jobs to make some money because we had plans to build a house. And the family came along very quickly. We had 5 children, and we named them after people in the Bible: Ruth, David, Jonathan, Samuel, and Rachel. They were also precious to me. I would come home from work and spend time in the evening playing with the children, doing other tasks that were needed to be done, and to help my wife put the children to bed. We had milk cows, chickens, rabbits, and a large garden. We lived out on 281 on the way to Defiance. It was fall, and we spent many evenings canning our fruit and the vegetables for the winters ahead. We managed to make ends meet. Laura and I drew up the plans for a family home. In 1945, I was seriously injured in a machine shop accident. I was standing close to some electrical wires near the ceiling, and I was electrocuted and fell and broke my back. I was paralyzed and spent a month at St. Vincent's Hospital in Toledo, paralyzed. My prayers followed my dear wife and children, who I realized would be left alone. I knew with certainty that God had promised He would take care of us in our needs. This had to be the ultimate challenge of my wife for our short 7 years of marriage. After my death, she would be left alone, raising 5 children: Ruth 6, David 5, Jonathan 3, Samual 2, and Rachel 6 months. I died in March of 1945 at the age of 32, and my remains are buried here at Oak Grove Cemetery.
My name is Laura Yvonne. I was born on March 19th, 1916. Looking back over 85 years, I never could have imagined the way that my life would include so many experiences. I was growing up in a country home with my father, stepmother, brother Walter. We lived quite simply. Because our parents were very strict, Walter and my lives were limited in many ways. At that time, we were wearing very outdated clothes styles. We missed out on many after-school activities we weren't allowed to attend. Difficulties can be very positive in the long run. One learns more from hard times and when all goes well, often gaining life skills over the rest of your life. When I was 20 years old, I met the young man who later would become my husband, Yohe. A special service our church held at the